Reading FC versus Shrewsbury Town was a thriller, but the club is still in turmoil. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to On My Headson. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So, if you're not really aware of what's been going on with Reading FC, who are now in League One, kind of struggling a little bit to gain any traction, gain any improvements, they've been really struggling the last couple of years, but the ownership has been all up and down. So there have been fan protests, there's been games that have been cancelled, postponed, there's been tennis balls been thrown onto the pitch, there's been pitch invasions, there's been all sorts of things, right? It's a club in real turmoil. There's been so many negative things that go against the club because of the ownership, right? And the way they just kind of, they don't really care about the club, and the fans are just totally, beside themselves, right? But the club, the football team, are still trying. They're still trying the hardest. And, it comes down to, how are they feeling? Are they getting paid? Are they being motivated? Can they go out every week and put on a performance? And sometimes they're close, sometimes they're better, but a lot of times they haven't done really well. So I thought I'd go along. They're my local team, and they're not my team. They're not my team that I support, but I support them because they're my local team as well. So every now and again, I'll go along to a game, and so I phoned up the ticket office. I am a member of the club as well, so in terms, because they're my local team, right? So we'll support them in that respect. So every now and again, I try and get a couple of games this season if I can. But say I'm usually going to other games. But I hadn't been in a while, right? So all this had kind of passed me by a little bit in terms of seeing what was going on at the club. So, I phoned at the ticket office, I went online, got my ticket, yada, yada, yada. I rode up there on my motorcycle, parked up, went and walked around the stadium 2 or 3 times just to get those fitness steps in. Had a couple of cups of coffee. I was in my own world, listening to a podcast as I was waiting for the game to start. I think a couple of people might have kind of said hello to me, but I wasn't really sure. I was kind of in my own world a little bit. But anyway, so I was looking forward to seeing Reading play and see how they could play against Shrewsbury. I wasn't that impressed with the ticketing price. It was £29. For me, it was a late buy. If I bought it before 11 o'clock in the morning, it would have been about £24. But still, League One game, 24. It's a bit, but there we go. I mean, that's the way it is. Inflation, right? But I thought for a League One tie, home support isn't that bad. It wasn't a full stadium, don't get me wrong, nowhere near a full stadium. Actually, I don't know what the attendance was, but it wasn't bad. I would say 10,000, 9,000 possibly, maybe a bit less, I'm not sure, but a decent game. They're playing Shrewsbury Town. I don't really know what they're following, but they brought a decent following down. I would say a good 300, 400, 500 maybe, something like that. So fair play to them. The game started, sunny days, the sun was shining right in my eye line, so it was annoying how sunny it was, but it was always threatening with rain in other parts of the area. And it was like Reading was still asleep. They just didn't wake up. And Shrewsbury Town scored 2 great goals in quite quick succession. Their first goal came in from a corner on the right-hand side, and it was just a left-foot volley, first time. It was just connection and bang, straight in the goal. And it was probably the goal of the season in any division. It was just a fantastic goal. If you go online and search for Reading versus Shrewsbury Town highlights, you see this goal. It's a corker. Their second goal was really good as well, the way they worked it. There was a lot of, I'm not sure if this is amongst many of the Reading fans, but where I was, there were lots of kind of boos and hisses, let's say, or words to that effect, against a Reading keeper. I don't think he didn't put himself in a good light, I don't think, in terms of the way he was letting some of these goals go in. But as I say, that being said, goalkeepers have a tough time anyway. But it just didn't seem as if Reading were at the races at all. Then after about 10-15 minutes, they were 2-0 down. The fan base were kind of, trying to cheer them on and everything. So, from a fan base, I thought, yeah, things are good. But the Reading themselves, just weren't there. Then they started to get livelier and livelier and got back into the game, more possession. The quality wasn't always there on both sides, but I don't expect that because we're talking League One, right? But at the same time, there was a lot of endeavour, there was a lot of will to go forward. Then they pulled a goal back, then they got another goal back. It was 2-2. Hey, things are looking good. Then another great goal from Shrewsbury just before half-time. So they were winning 3-2 at half-time. And this is 3-2 at half-time, right? 5 goals in the first half. This is great. Great for a neutral. If you're a neutral, great entertaining football. But then you kind of analyse it and you think, well, actually, there's decision making here. There's, the sloppy passing every now and again. They're trying to take on a player when they should be crossing it. They're crossing or they're passing the ball behind the player instead of in front of the player. There's lots of fundamentals there we're kind of missing from Reading's point of view. But you could say the same for Shrewsbury, but they seem to have more of a quality about them, whilst their work rate may not have been as good as Reading in other parts. All the fan base got up when there was jeer against the ownership, and that was good. But there wasn't anything there like fan protest against the club or the team. It seemed to be very supportive, and I like that. Okay, I like if you're going to protest against your club or your ownership, but do that outside, do that somewhere else away from the actual football match. If you're going to put banners up, I don't mind that at all. I think that's good in terms of that, and as a fan base to be vocal, but don't disrupt the actual game. For me, I know other people might have a different point of view, but for me, second half, I thought Reading were much the better team overall, but Shrewsbury had their chances. Reading had a couple of chances. They could have equalised in the dying moments as well. And again, it always comes down to a bit more quality here, a bit more decisiveness there. And I thought it was an even match. So it was a good match to go and watch. If you're a neutral, I don't think you'd be very happy if you're a Reading fan, of course, because you lost, right? The local team lost. It's not good news. If you're a Shrewsbury fan, yeah, you're going to be ecstatic. But in terms of an overall football game, from a neutral's point of view, looking at it, you think, yeah, it's just entertaining stuff. But I often find that with sort of League One, Championship, League One, League Two games. I like honest football. Sometimes in the Premier League, in fact, a lot of time in the Premier League, you have a better quality, but you have some nonsense that goes on with the game as well. And, as fan bases, we can get hooked up onto this, higher quality and diving here and all that sort of stuff. And the play acting and the tactical decisions that either players make or management and coaches make. And you think, but sometimes getting back to just honest football where the tackles are flying in and, even the fan base are going, come ref, the referee had a poor game, I thought. He didn't really control the game well because there was lots of decisions that he should have given straight away, and he didn't, and he let things go when he shouldn't have done, and so, or then he gave yellow cards when he thought, it was a bit harsh there, so I didn't think he had a great game. I think that the issue here is with any team that are trying to improve or trying to get results and trying to get wins, you can slow the game down a little bit to try and improve your quality, right? But then if you're chasing a game, if you're trying to go forward with a sense of urgency, the gold standard, if you will, okay, the Barcelona of old, the Real Madrid of old, the Manchester United, Liverpool of old, let's say, is to go forward with urgency, but retain high quality. Okay, that's a gold standard. And that's what every team wants, right? You want high quality and you want a sense of urgency, whether you're defending or whether you're attacking. And the problem is, if you drop the urgency, then it becomes a ball fest. If you drop the quality, then there's frustration all around. So they need to find a happy medium. And the level of Reading, in particular, is that they're teetering on this kind of urgency, but trying to maintain the quality. The quality isn't there. And I think that's where, fundamentally, they let themselves down. It made for an entertaining game of football to watch, don't get me wrong, but it ultimately led to them losing the game. But what is more interesting is that they seem to be losing the fight with the ownership. There doesn't seem to be anything that the FA or anything seems to be doing about the club. The club seems to be held to account seem to be penalised, where the ownership seem to be so remote they don't care, and who knows what they are and where they're going to be. I mean, as a local team, of course I'm going to support them, but as a football fan, I'm going to support the club and support the fan base of that club. I don't support any owner who kind of doesn't even care about the club, doesn't even care about the well-being of the fan base, about the community. If I was, let's say, a multi-millionaire, Reading would be one of those teams that I would be looking to buy. I'll be looking to buy to re-engage with the community, because it is a community team, just like most teams are, right? Most football teams are, and certainly in the UK, right? They're community teams, and especially if they start to do well, they bring the community together. Whereas this ownership, I learned, has basically shattered a lot of that. And it's only those loyal fans who really care for the club, of course, because you're a football fan of your team, that you really want them to do well. And if they're not doing well, then obviously you're going to be frustrated and you're going to be jeering and moaning just like any other football fan, right? So you're not alone there. But fundamentally, you want the best for your team. You want the best so that they can improve and get better results and climb the table and hopefully get a promotion and hopefully get another promotion and so on and so forth, right? I mean, I remember, a few years ago, for me it's a few years ago, but, in the Steve Coppell days as manager of Reading, they rose the ranks. They got to the Premier League and it was great. It was great to see them there. They were playing some really decent football at times. They kind of went down, came back, it went down again, and it's just been, kind of a few years in the Championship, then struggling in the Championship. They made a playoff, but then it kind of went down and down again. Ownership changes, and then this latest owner that has just completely ruined the club, and now they're struggling in League One, where a win over the weekend against Shrewsbury would have put them firmly mid-table, but now they're kind of, now they're struggling, just above relegation, and a couple more losses here and there, they could be right back into it. You drop down another league into League Two, then, you're really starting to see how much of the fan base is going to stay loyal to the club. Hopefully they would come in their numbers. But I think as a community, you would probably think that, that most fans and families would come back. But certainly not at £29 a ticket. You would have to lower your prices. You're going to have to lower your prices. But this could be, in many ways, and I've said it with my own team, West Ham, in the past. But anyway, sometimes in the past, when we've had really dark days, sometimes relegation might be a good thing because it kind of resets everything. And if you've got an ownership that are teetering on whether they want to stay owners or not, maybe it's a good time for them to leave and somebody else comes in. This could be what we're seeing with Reading. It could be the start of something where we could see another investor come in who can see the potential of Reading, see what it means to the community. See, okay, they are not a one-team town, as it were, because there is a Reading City, but they're very sort of lower league. But essentially, just one team, Reading FC for Reading. They are the team. Okay, so there is a whole community. There's a void in the whole region in Berkshire. There's nothing else really. So that can pull in a lot of people to go and watch to Reading. If they climb up into the Championship next season, so they got to the Premiership, then all of a sudden that stadium is going to be packed again. And if you can attract an investor who's going to take over, one can get hold of the owner and force him to want to sell. If the FA can get involved and say, no, you've got to sell this club because you're ruining this club, that's where there's got to be a bit more bite from the FA to say, to make sure that the ownerships are doing a proper job. They're doing a job that is best for the club and best for the fans. And if they're not doing that, they must be forced to sell. That's going to take a regulation change. That's going to take something more. And that's the problem with foreign investors as well, is with the way they see this happening, the way they see their relationship with the local community, which I don't think they feel that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It was a treat to go and watch Reading play. It was unfortunate that they've that they lost. It was a decent, entertaining game to watch. Quality was lacking in sometimes. It was heartening to see that the fan base is still, together as a community, trying to urge the team on and trying to, still have solidarity against the ownership. But at the same time, they're a club in turmoil. They're a club that is facing a lot of issues, and basically because it's the problem at the top rather than the club itself, rather than the players itself. That is the major issue. It's always from the top, and if you've got great leadership at the top, that tends to filter down. If you've got terrible leadership at the top, that also tends to filter down. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos, and I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now.